What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of FTB Inventions. Oh yeah, guys. So I went ahead and I started upgrading our building over here. Yeah, it was stone previously. The whole thing was made out of stone. I decided, we should start adding some colors and making it look a little bit nicer. So I went and I made myself some stained light blue clay. Yeah, we're using that for the border pieces. And then for the inside, the white, this is, what is that? That's the laboratory block from Chisel. Yeah, we've used that before in many of our series before. I do like it because it's a nice white color. It's not flat white. There is a little bit of texture in there. But it's nice. Nice connected texture. I like it. So that's what we went with. Yeah, I haven't really changed much else. I did put in a little bit of laboratory blocks for the floor down here. And in fact, I was in the middle. I forgot about this. I was in the middle of painting that waypoint. No, it's not called a waypoint. What is that thing called? Oh, I have it in my inventory. Travel anchor. That's what it's called. Yeah, I forgot to put that down. Yeah, so I was in the process of painting that so I can stick that right in the center of the floor and we won't have to see it. Right there. Let's right click it. This is a E. I think that's what we gotta do, right? That's it. All right, I think it also needed a torch on there for a little bit of brightness. We could paint some of this stuff with painted glowstone, or you might put in glowstone and paint it, I should say. Yeah, we might look at doing that. I'm not really a big fan of the torches around here. That's something we will take care of in the future, but let me know what you guys think about the light blue stained clay and the laboratory blocks. The enamel wall, I think, is the flavor of that. There is still a little bit of this stuff down at the bottom, and I wasn't sure if I wanted the enamel wall all the way down to the bottom or not. I kind of like the way that looks on the inside. Yeah, so the enamel wall doesn't go all the way down to the bottom. We got a little bit of a separator there. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about it. I think it's looking pretty good. I really like the design too, so anyway, we were messing around with some of the Tech Reborn stuff. We were looking at trying to get to the ultimate hybrid solar panels so we could power our Matter Fabricator. Yeah, we're going to stick that in our the Aroma 1997 mining world. Yeah, we're going to do that. But we ran into a problem. We need diamond ore, guys. So unless we're going to go down underground and mine everything by hand and try and collect all the diamond ore we need, yeah, we're going to have to set up like the MFR Laser Drill. So that's where we're at right now. We need to get a laser drill. We need to power that. And we don't have a lot of power. Yeah, our power setup we have right here is enough to do some of the things we need to do from Tech Reborn. But honestly, we're kind of scraping the bottom here. Yeah, when we start processing a decent amount of stuff, these things all will kick on. They'll start producing 320 RF per tick. And it is true, we could add in another augment in here, get rid of one of these fuel efficiencies and put in more of the power outputs. Yeah, we could do that, but I really don't think these are going to end up being, I don't think they're going to end up being able to provide enough power, all the power that we're going to need for all these different things that we're going to have running all of the time, non-stop. Yep, I think we're going to have to jump to big reactors. I was kind of trying to avoid doing that for our main power supply. But yeah, we kind of got to the point where we have to do that, or unless we want to expand this out and make massive amounts of these dynamos, which I'm not really a big fan of doing that. So we're going to look at doing a little bit of big reactor action today. I was kind of looking at this before, and pretty much everything from big reactors. Well, I didn't even look at these turbines before. I guess some of the turbine stuff you can have exchange. I was going to say pretty much everything from the big reactors mod does not have exchange value, and of course I immediately mouse over something that does. But yeah, I was looking at pretty much all these things. The Yellorium does have exchange, so we can have pretty much unlimited fuel. We can turn our blaze rods directly into Yellorium, which will be a much better way of producing power. Cyanide does as well, and it has a little bit more, or it costs just slightly more for that for some reason. I'm not sure why, since that's spent fuel. Plutonium does not have an exchange value. And neither does the Yellorium dust or I guess the Yellorite ore does. What? That doesn't make sense. I don't think you can learn that. Let's go over to our table here. I think I've tried learning that before. Oh, you know what? We do have this, and we can pull out the ores. That is very interesting. I didn't realize we could do that. So that's a way better value, getting the Yellorite ore directly from our table. Yeah, than pulling out the ingots themselves. Okay, so that's something I wasn't even considering. So we'll have to set up a way to process this stuff into the Yellorite ingot, or Yellorium ingot. Okay, so that's kind of cool. I don't think any of these other things are really going to help us out. Anyway, what's a beeftronic? Is that something new? I'm not even sure. There's no recipe for it. Right click on a block to show debug info. Ah, okay. All right, so that's probably like a creative mode or admin tool. So anyway, we need to look at getting ourselves a big reactor. Now, we did set up one of these previously, and we have it over in the mining world. It's nighttime. I probably should go sleep, but we're not gonna. We're gonna be dangerous. Yeah, we set up one of these small big reactors in the mining world. Is what we used to power our quarry previously. So we have some parts left over. We can go ahead and tear all of this down and repurpose that. Yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and move that into the overworld. I think we're using molten redstone for the cooling stuff in this. Yeah, it's been a while. When we first set this up, or when we set this up a while ago, this was before we even had flight, so I had a staircase up this thing. Yeah, well, that's kind of cool. Anyway, we'll go ahead and tear this all down. We'll repurpose a lot of these parts. I'm not sure how big of a big reactor we need. And I'm not sure how much power we're going to need. I want to think about having enough that we can expand it later. And we might end up going to turbines at some point in the future. I'm really not sure. Turbines will definitely allow us to provide a lot more power. These are things we'll have to think about. All right, guys. Well, the first things first, I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this. We'll start salvaging some of the parts. Yeah, we're going to need the controller and the access ports. What else does this thing have on here? The power output, the power tap. Yeah, we're going to need all of these different things to get another big reactor going. I'll have to make some more of these yellorium fuel rods and the reactor control rods. But yeah, let me get some things going on here and we'll be back, guys. All right, guys. Well, I'm in the process of getting our big reactor set up right now. I just got done melting a whole lot of ender pearls through our crude setup right here. Yeah, I filled up the chest quite full of ender pearls and went through the magma crucible into the fluid transposer and got put into our reinforced portable tank. I guess that filled it all the way up, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to get 100% full and nothing left over, but I guess that's fine. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. So our big reactor is over here. Yeah, so that's our workshop, that's our AE room, and then our big reactor is going to be chilling over here a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, the way this is set up, it's 15 long by 15, so it's a square. And then it is, I believe, 6 blocks high, so we got 5 in the center. Actually, I guess that'd be 7 if you count here. Yeah, if you count the edges, it's 5 tall on the inside, so 7 tall on the outside, or whatever. So that's the way that is. I left 3 blocks of space between the wall and our fuel rods, and then the fuel rods are in the checker pattern. Yeah, so I kind of figured out a lot of the different things that we need here. It's like 132 buckets of the resin ender to fill in all of the outside, the top layer. Yeah, we're going to fill this all in with dirt, put down the resin ender, and then remove the dirt. It'll all flow down and keep the outside cool. We're going to do liquid cryothium like we normally do for the inside of these big reactors. Yeah, that's like the best fuel, I guess the best coolant to put between these control rods or the yellorium fuel rods or whatever. I've done the math before and I've done like the big reactor simulator, and it seems like this is the best layout where you put the resin ender along the outside and you put the cryothium between the fuel rods. So that's what we're going with right now. I don't know how much power this is going to produce. I assume it's going to be a decent amount, like 40,000 or 100,000 RF per tick. Honestly, I don't know. We can always expand this and make it taller, or we can expand it and make it bigger. So if it's not enough, yeah, we have those options, or we could go to the turbines. So that's something else we'll look at. But anyway, we have this tank now. I guess what I should have done is grabbed a little bit of dirt over here. Let's do that. Fill my inventory. We don't need that much, but that should get us going regardless. Yeah, what we need to do is fill in the outside full of that resonant ender, and then I'm going to go ahead and look at creating enough of the gelid cryothium, or I guess we're gonna have to make the cryothium. Yeah, and then we're gonna have to melt that all down and all of that stuff, so that'll be fun. I was looking at the recipe for that, and it does require, is it niter? Yeah, and you get niter from pulverizing or sag milling sandstone. You get like 50% chance of it, so that's the way we're gonna get our niter. Unfortunately, the jelly cryothium or the cryothium dust or whatever does not have exchange value, so you cannot, yeah, you can't just make like one and then pull out a whole lot from the system. It just doesn't work that way. All right, so we got a dirt layer around there. We'll just use our builder's wand here to fill this all in like so. Guess we can do this in a smarter way, like that. Yeah, I don't have the wand set so it'll only place horizontally, so I gotta be careful. If I click it here, that'll be a mistake, and we don't want to do that. And we just want this laid out in such a way where we can put the resonant ender on top of the dirt. Just make one solid source block layer of it, and then just, like I said, remove the dirt and let it all flow down. All right, there we go. Cool, so that is our layer. Yeah, and then I'll just go ahead and bucket this out. I do think, like I said, that we're gonna need, what was it, 132 buckets, I think is what I said. So we need like 5 more after this is done, but that's fine. I'll go ahead, put this all out here. I'm gonna sleep since it's nighttime just about once again, and then I'll start working on that jelly cryotheum. Unfortunately, or I'm sorry, yeah, the jelly cryotheum. Unfortunately, that stuff has gravity, so if you place the source block up here, it'll eventually just sink all the way down, and it'll end up down here at the bottom. So we have to fill these tubes all the way full with the jelly cryotheum. So I think, I don't remember how many I said there were. So there's like 10. Oh, okay, there's 12. So we need 12 times 5. I think that's what it is. 12 times 5 buckets full of the jelly cryotheum. So like 60 buckets, something like that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get going on that. Start making the jelly cryotheum, melt it down, get it into the liquid form, bucket it all out. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get all this done, and we'll be back, guys. Oh my goodness, guys. So we got this thing hooked up. Yeah, finally got all the cryotheum placed in there and all of the resonant ender. Yep, the multi-block structure is formed. We still need to fill it up full of the yellorium and then turn this thing on. Just see how much power it's actually making per tick. So I'm kind of interested in seeing that. Let's head back over here to our workshop. I do have a little bit of yellorium in here. Not a whole lot, but we do have some that I have gotten. All right, so let's go and grab this stuff. That should be more than enough to fill this thing up. Get me out of the basement. I keep doing that. Yeah, let's come over here. We'll fill it up. We'll give it a quick turn on and then just kind of see how much power we're going to be making. Just so we have a general idea. Just need to go ahead and fill this thing up full of this stuff. Is that even going to be enough? Barely. Got 2 remaining. All right. So we got 25 fuel rods, it says. Maximum capacity, 500,000 millibuckets. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, let's turn it on. Let's see what we get. This is making... And it's still going. It's going to be making a little bit over 50. It's almost 60, maybe more than 60. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. We're making about 61K RF per tick. That's not bad at all. Let's go and turn this thing off. So other things we want to do, we probably want to get this power tap hooked up either into a tesseract, or we can move our main base power, our battery that we had. We could put that on here so the reactor could dump directly into that. Yeah, and then we can send the power off wirelessly from there. I'm not sure how we want to get this all hooked up just yet. That's something we're going to have to figure out. Now, we also have the cyanide reprocessor. Since we don't really have a good way of making yellorium right now, it might be a good idea to process all of the yellorite into plutonium. I'm sorry, process all of the spent fuel, the cyanide, into plutonium and put it back into the reactor, just so that stuff lasts a little bit longer. It'll be a little bit more efficient on the fuel. That's something we could think about doing. Yeah, so I got a few more things that I want to do. I'm trying to decide how we want to handle the power. I don't think having the battery inside the base is something we absolutely need. It is kind of nice having it there so we can kind of look and see how much power we have on tap. But yeah, with the reactor making that much power, it's definitely not that necessary anymore. Yeah, and we can free up a little bit more room and move like our equivalent exchange stuff over here. I still have the other things like the aludel, whatever this thing is, and the calcinator we can move in there too over by it. So yeah, we could remove this and put those items in here. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get a few more things done. I think we will move the battery over there. I might make a few more of these just so we have bigger power storage. We'll just stick this right in front of the power tap. Yeah, and the big reactor will power this up. I'll have to figure out if there is a way we can use either like a redstone off of this or some other method to tell how much power is in this, because we want the reactor to turn off if this thing is all the way full and turn back on when this reaches a certain level, like 25% or something, just so we're not using fuel all the time. But yeah, these are things I'll try and figure out here in just a minute, and we'll be right back, guys. All right, guys. Well, we got a lot of things happening here now. I've moved the vibrant capacitor banks over here. Yep, and I've added a second layer. So now we have 18 of these things all together. So we have a total power storage of 450 million RF, which is awesome. Yeah, this is sitting right in front of the power tap from the big reactor. So the big reactor dumps all of its power from its internal battery right into here. Yep, and then this is sending all of its power on our energy cell, right? So we always have 450 million RF on tap at any point in time, which is really cool. And we can send 450,000 RF per tick through that tesseract. Also pretty cool. So I was trying to figure out how I want to get this big reactor automated so it's not going full blast and we're wasting fuel all the time. Now, I think people have told me in the past is that you can set up a couple of these reactor RedNet ports right next to each other. Yeah, very, very simple to get this automated. So this one right here, this reactor RedNet port, if we right click on it, on the white channel, we have it set to, let's press 0 or press O, I mean, input change control rod insertion. So whatever is coming through on the white channel, that's what it's going to set the control rods to. And then over here on the reactor RedNet port, the second one, we have on the white channel, we have it doing the battery output energy percent amount. So as the internal battery set to 99 or 100%, if we come over here, yeah, since we are 100% full, it is sending 100 on the signal on that white channel over here. And it's saying the control rods to 100 or 99, I think is like the highest they go, right? As we start using power, it'll start draining this battery. So it'll go from 100 down to like 90, 50 into 1, right? 1% and then 0%. And so when it does that, it raises the control rods and allows more power to be generated, essentially turning the reactor on. So you can see right now it isn't completely off. We are still making like 800 RF per tick. That's at the highest control rod setting. So we could make it more efficient so it's not using any fuel at all. But this is way better than having it go full blast where it's using like 4 millibuckets per tick or something along those lines. Yeah, we could make this more efficient if we had like computer craft over here, literally turning the reactor on and off based off of the vibrant capacitor bank. And I was about to start working on that. I had a comparator out here so we can get the redstone signal out of that thing. But, you know, that's a lot of work for really not a lot of payoff. Yeah, especially since the yellorium that we have, yeah, we can pretty much get it for free. Since we have our blaze rods going over here, we convert the blaze rods into the energy, and then the energy we can convert into the yellorium. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be like super stingy on it. Anyway, yeah, if it's just going at a slight trickle all of the time, that's fine, that's fine. But when we start drawing a lot of power, yeah, it'll kick that reactor on. We'll start busting out like 60,000 RF per tick, should we choose, or should we need that much, which I'm not sure if we will. Anyway, we still got some more things that we need to hook up, like the yellorium input and the cyanite into the cyanite reprocessor and then into plutonium and then back into here. So that's some things that I'm going to be working on here in just a moment. We do have a channel set up for water. Yeah, we have all of our aqueous accumulators over here making water. So water is the necessary step with the cyanite reprocessor. We'll go ahead and get that thing all hooked up here in just a minute. So we kind of went through this before in an earlier episode when we set up the quarry, I believe, yeah, in the Aroma 1997 mining world. So I'll just go ahead and get that thing reset up and then we'll continue on from there, guys. All right, guys, well, we got our cyanide reprocessor all hooked up now. Pretty easy to do. Yeah, this thing just requires some power. It requires a little bit of water, and then it also requires cyanide. 2 pieces of cyanide plus a bucket of water and some power will turn the cyanide into a plutonium ingot. The plutonium ingot works just the same as yellorium, yeah, except it costs, you know, a little bit of power, a little bit of water, and 2 cyanide for it to happen. So anyway, let's kind of walk through the way this is working for those of you who might not know how big reactors work. So right here in this deep storage unit, we have our yellorium fuel rod. This is all of our, yellorium ingots. These are all of our brand new fuel that's going to go into our big reactor that's producing our power. Yeah, so as the reactor produces power, it uses up the yellorium. Ingots get used from right here, and we pull the new ones from here. So yeah, the ingots will go into our reactor access port. Yeah, and after a while, when the reactor spends a little bit of fuel, we'll get a cyanide ingot out on this side. Yeah, this is set to the outlet mode, and that will go right over here into our deep storage unit. Yeah, the deep storage unit will push the cyanide over into our cyanide reprocessor, And when we get 2 of them, yeah, we'll turn into another plutonium, and the plutonium is just going to sit here until there is space in our reactor access port where there's no yellorium in here. Right. So pretty much what's going to happen is the reactor will use all of our 674 ingots that are in our deep storage unit plus the stack that's in here. Yeah, once this is all gone, then the plutonium will come over here and take its place. Like I said, it works exactly the same as yellorium, except it's blue. It's the only difference. Cool. So I could sit here and I could make this deep storage unit like 100,000 if I wanted to. Doesn't really matter. But eventually it's going to run out of fuel unless they keep tabs on this thing. Having the whole cyanide reprocessor just ensures that the fuel is going to last for quite some time. Yeah, and we're not being wasteful with it. We're using it and reusing it, reusing it until it's gone. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this thing. So we have the fuel taken care of. We have the fuel regulation taken care of. So we're not wasting fuel when we don't need it. And we have a large power storage that's sending 450,000 RF per tick through our Tesseract. So that's pretty awesome as well. So I think everything over here as far as our power is concerned is taken care of at this point. So that's really awesome. The next thing we really should look at working on is getting our laser drills. Yes, the whole purpose of setting this up was so we had power for the laser drill so we can get ourselves whole ores like diamond ore and things like this so we can make our ultimate hybrid solar panels. That's the idea. All right, so power is taken care of. We don't have to worry about that. So we need to get ourselves a laser drill and 4 laser drill pre-chargers. Yeah, the laser drill itself is rather inexpensive for what it does. Just a couple of diamonds, couple of redstone reception coils, plastic sheets, glowstone illuminators, and a hardened glass if we're doing the thermal expansion route, which is fine. These pre-chargers, though, all pretty much the same thing, except it requires pink slime crystals, which comes from a smelted pink slime block, which comes from pink slime balls. Now, unfortunately, none of these have exchange value, so there is no way for us to make one and then duplicate it. No, we have to make all of these ourselves. All right, so in order to get the pink slime, we need to get ourselves a slaughterhouse. When monsters, either hostile creatures or non-hostile creatures, are killed with the slaughterhouse, you get a slight chance of getting pink slime. When you get a bucket of that, you can place it on the ground. You get yourself a little pink slime that'll jump around. You can kill it for pink slime balls. Or what we're going to do is snatch it up in a safari net and then spawn a whole lot of those things. And we'll get all of our pink slime that way. So the first step in this process is we need to get ourselves a slaughterhouse. Let's go ahead and do that. So a slaughterhouse is a lot of Invar, machine frame, yeah, plastic. It's not that expensive. What we could do at this point, we have a spawner right here that is currently killing Blaze using grinders. We can replace these grinders with slaughterhouses and they will do pretty much the same thing. They'll kill the enemies, but they'll produce, I think liquid protein is one of the, or liquid meat, I can't remember what it is. And like I said, it'll also produce some of that pink slime. So we could do it that way. We might look at doing that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get some of that crafting done. Yeah, and that crafting isn't so bad. Just some Invar that we're going to need to get the slaughterhouses. So let me go ahead and get to that, and then we'll be back, hopefully, and be able to get ourselves some pink slime. Alright guys, well I went ahead and I created a slaughterhouse and I have that hooked up in the same spot as our grinders. The grinders I have turned off. Well, I set the conduits on them so the item mode is disabled, and I think that's going to prevent these things from killing any blaze once they fill up with items. I don't think they're going to continue to push the items out. At least that's the idea. So we should be good to go here to turn this thing on. Let these blaze spawn in. In fact, what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and go to our sounds here. We'll turn hostile creatures down, and we will also turn, I think, blocks down is what the fire noise is. Yeah, so we should get some blaze spawning in. They'll do everything they want. The grinders are going to kill them a little bit, and then they should stop killing them. It should only be the slaughterhouse in just a minute here. So let's take a look at what we got going on. The slaughterhouse should be doing some stuff. Yeah, okay. So we are full, or this conduit is full of meat anyway. That's kind of what I wanted to see. So we got a little bit of pink slime in here. That's cool. So we are gaining the pink slime. We're about, what is that, 2/10 of the way there. All right, so I made 2 portable tanks. We got one that is 128 buckets. And then we got another one that's going to be for the pink slime. So we're going to go ahead and stick this guy right here. Oh, that filled up full of the wrong stuff. Oh no, I messed up, guys. Whoops, well, I got that all fixed, guys. So we have a reinforced portable tank. Let's stick it over here this time. So yeah, that should fill up full of the liquid meat. And then we also have another tank here. Once all that meat's gone, this should be full of pink slime. Yeah, there we go. So we can go ahead and stick the pink slime one right... Oh, I guess I can't stand there while I'm placing it. Right there. So that'll fill up with the pink slime. Then we'll get the liquid meat down here so we can continue to let this thing run. Yeah, we'll collect a little bit more. I'm not really sure how much we need, if we're gonna need more than this, but pretty much what we needed was the 1 bucket's worth of the pink slime, which we don't appear to have at the moment. We're almost there. Yeah, we're at 900 millibuckets. I guess at this time I could come over to our workshop over here. Let's grab another bucket. Then we're also gonna want to make ourselves a safari net. Let's do this, because once we create our pink slime, we're definitely going to want to keep it. Do we not have gassed tiers? I thought we've had those before. Oh, snap. Okay. Well, if we don't have a gas tier, we can't do what we need to do. So I guess what we're going to... Let me get out of there. I guess what we need to do, let's turn this off. All those bleeds are mad at me. How are we doing on the pink slime? Still not enough in there, huh? Yeah, we need to come down here. Grab the bucket's worth of this stuff. We're gonna go to the nether. It looks like we're gonna have to kill ourselves a little bit of blaze, or I'm sorry, a gas until we get a gas tier. All right, well, I was expecting us to be able to do this a little bit easier. Do we have a way to create these? No, we can only get those from ghasts. All right, so I'm gonna have to go to the nether, fly around, get ourselves some gas tiers, which is fine. I was thinking that we already had the bucket of the stuff, but I guess not. Yeah, we're not quite there. So I'll wait until we get a full bucket. I will, take it out of the portable tank. We'll turn this thing off. We'll turn it back around the way it should be so the grinders are doing their thing. Yeah, let me go ahead and get the gas here, make the safari net, and then we'll be back to get ourselves a pink slime. Well, the weirdest thing was, the way this was set up down below, I was not able to collect any more than 900 millibuckets of the pink slime when this portable tank was sitting on top right here. Moving it over to the side and allowing the pipe to come in from the top, yeah, then we're able to fill up above that 900 millibuckets, but sitting there for a while, it's like, you know, we've killed a lot of monsters, we haven't gained any more. And then I saw this tank filling up with some, and then once the meat cleared out of the line, I saw this drain, and we're still at 900 millibuckets. Like, oh no, what's going on? Well, anyway, we got that all solved. It's not a big deal. I finally got my 1 bucket of the pink slime, and then the gas tier does have exchange value, so I learned that in the system. Now we can make gas tiers whenever we want to. They're worth like 4,096. So we can place a pink slime on the ground like that, the liquid stuff. The source block will eventually turn into a pink slime, like a regular slime. We can catch it with the safari net, and then, yeah, we'll spawn a whole bunch with the MFR portable spawner. Is that what it's called? I think it's called an auto spawner. So, yeah, sometimes this takes very short. Sometimes like 5 to 10 seconds. Sometimes I've seen it take 2 minutes. But eventually that source block will turn into a little jumpity slime. So we'll just have to wait for that to happen. And there we go. We got a little slime. And he sees me. It's just a little fella. 1 HP, tiny. Yeah, we got him. So what we need to do now is create ourselves an auto spawner. Yep. So a couple emeralds, some magma cream, nether wart, machine frame, plastic. Yeah, the auto spawner requires some of this monster essence, which we have, you know, only 20,711 buckets worth of. So yeah, we'll go ahead and grab a tesseract for power. We'll pipe out some of this stuff from the tank. Yeah, and then we'll be able to spawn in a whole bunch of those pink slimes. So let me get a little bit more stuff together so we can mass produce pink slime, and we'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, well, that was pretty easy to get set up here. Yeah, the slimes will spawn in the light, and we already had a tesseract set up to send out the monster essence because of our previous dynamos over there, and we already have power on a tesseract. So yeah, We have a tesseract underneath that's providing this essence, one on top of providing it power. All we need to do is provide it a little bit of looting with the sword, and there we go. We're going to have all the pink slimes, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and farm this stuff for quite some time. This doesn't have exchange energy like we already discussed earlier. So we'll probably get a few stacks of this, so I won't have to worry about this again. But I will keep that safari net with the pink slime in it, just so we don't have to deal with this process ever again. I don't really know how much more the pink slime we'll ever need, but yeah, we'll just go ahead and keep that guy just so we don't ever have to do the slaughterhouse and all of that again. But anyway, guys, I think we're going to go and wrap the episode up here for today. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff done. We did not make the laser drill, but we got everything ready to go. We had the power, we had the pink slime. We just have to make the items and then figure out where we're going to place them. But yeah, guys, I'm just going to hang out here with my slime buddies, loot them, all of that stuff. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to leave a like on this episode if you liked it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.